Hey, Ruben again, Confluence Sports Cards. Welcome back to the channel. So I always find it fascinating whenever there is a story behind how cards get into people's collections. You can say, hey, that's a pretty cool card. Where'd you get it? Oh, I got it off eBay. Okay, that's pretty boring. I love hearing these stories about how people find stuff, whether it's at a card show, at a flea market, whether they're cleaning out somebody's house and they find this, cool card. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The first vintage card that I can remember actually seeking out and buying. Now, whenever I was a kid, I remember like the first time I actually went into a actual card store and seeing like the old cards. And I was like, I'll never be able to get those things because, you don't have any money. Well, as I grew up a little bit and I went out and got my first job, I was around 16. I remember going to this card shop and you're always, fascinated by like the newest release because, you get your Beckett and you're seeing, the 1992 Fleer Ultra and you're like, oh yeah. And I remember milling around in that card store and seeing that they had older cards. So, I'm over there kind of milling around looking, and I see what they have, and I see what they have for the price. And, back a long, long time ago, the Beckett was the Bible. You must go by what that price is. So, I wasn't making a whole heck of a lot of money. I think I was maybe working 2 days a week washing dishes, which sucked. And I was like, okay, I want that card. And I remember going to that shop several times and staring at this card. I was like, man, I want this. I want this. Now, it's not like I had a lot of bills. Again, I wasn't making a lot of money, but I made it a concerted effort that I wanted to get this card. And the card that I'm talking about is the 1973 Topps Nolan Ryan. Now, I'll show the card, so calm down. But like I said, there's a story behind it. So I remember purchasing that card, and I think back in 1992, I paid $50 for it, which was pretty much an entire paycheck. And that went into my collection. I was proud. I was like, man, I got this vintage card. And storing it, I don't remember whether I bought it and it was in a top loader, but I think it ended up in one of these. The old screw down with the recessed portion in the plastic. And it sat in there. And it sat in there for like the last 30 some years. And within the last 2 years, I actually sent it in to get it graded. I was more, hey, I want this protected because this has a story behind it. This is like the first vintage card that I ever went and bought. So I really wasn't concerned about the grade. Now, whenever it came back, I was pleasantly surprised at the grade that it did receive because of where this card has gone. This card has gone with me with several moves here in the United States, overseas, and to think that all the miles that card has traveled before it even came to me, and then whenever it came to me, and it still came back in great condition, is phenomenal. So enough blabbering. I'll go ahead, turn it around, and show you the card. Alrighty, so here we have my first vintage card, the 1973 Topps Nolan Ryan, and it came back in an SGC 7. Now, I was not a grader for many years, meaning I did buy cards that were already graded, but I did not actually submit them. And I don't remember whether or not this was my first SGC submission whenever I went to my first Strongsville show, or if I submitted it later on. But again, I just wanted to go ahead and encapsulate this this piece of history in my collecting journey, as people would say, so I could store it properly and it wasn't going to get messed up or, lost easily. So that's all I really got for you. I just wanted to start something of cards with a story. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for stopping by.